So next up, our Lieutenant Governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom, who's elected, applause before he even gets up. So he was elected the 49th Lieutenant Governor of the state of California on November 2, 2010. His top priorities are economic development and job creation, improving access to higher education, and maintaining California's environmental leadership. Newsom came from a successful background in both the private sector, including starting 15 small businesses and thousands of jobs, and also worked in local government, having served both as the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, and before that as a county supervisor. Gavin Newsom.
Has been said by everybody else, but I'm going to do my best to try to fill in some blanks and first express my appreciation to all of you for taking the time to be here, particularly the young folks that are here, because frankly that's the spirit to which I think all of us were brought here in the first place, and the spirit to which we're all brought back in the spirit of the moment. But I was thinking as I was listening to Jim and Tom and John and others trying to contextualize this moment and picking up a little bit of what they're thinking about. And I don't know about you, but every single day I seem to pick up the paper, turn on the TV, and you read about nations and people that are being torn asunder because of racial, religious, and ethnic controversies that are fueling fanaticism, fueling terror. And then I think about California, and I think about our country. Here we are in California, the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. And I have long believed that the world looks to us to see that it's possible to live together, to advance together, and prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. What makes America so wonderful, what makes our state so extraordinary is our pluralism. It's our capacity to celebrate all our interesting differences, but at the end of the day, unite around our common humanity, to unite around the things that bind us together. Well, isn't that the national park system? Isn't that Yosemite? This fundamental notion of the commonwealth, this notion of democratization of an asset that Jim and Tom and John talked about, this idea that it's not just for the elite few, the nobles, not just for the kings, but it's for all of us, generations exist and generations to come. What a profoundly and unique, dare I say it, American ideal, because no time in the history of mankind had anyone advanced that ideal. It was 150 years ago today that this nation advanced that ideal. I think that's an extraordinary thing. And we're all the beneficiaries of it, not just here in California, not just across our nation, but the rest of the world is a beneficiary because of that wisdom. I also love the fact it all started here in California, didn't it? It all started here in our glorious and gracious state. That doesn't surprise all of you, though, right? California is a state of dreamers, of doers, of entrepreneurs. We have long prided ourselves on being on the leading and cutting edge of new ideas. We didn't wait for Washington, D.C. And frankly, folks didn't necessarily wait for all those folks with formal authority. It was folks who exercised their moral authority, folks that will never be written in the history books, that were the real champions of this effort. Bottom up, not top down. That worked with that junior senator from California. That worked with Olmsted and took those extraordinarily iconic photos from walk-ins and brought them around back east and eventually to Washington, D.C. Who knows if those were the images never seen in person, but in print, that were the game changers in Congress. And that junior senator, my gosh, read that history, huh? Manipulative. Saying there's really no public purpose in preserving this space for commercial use. We should just preserve it for its natural beauty and wonders. And everyone said, oh, great. Hardly any dissent, not much controversy in Congress, and it eventually made it to the president's desk. And John, of course, begins by contextualizing the moment. Thousands of people every single day die in the depths of that extraordinary moment in American history, the Civil War. Yet it wasn't just the Yosemite grant that was advanced during the stew, as it's been described, of those times. Within just a few years of this moment, 150 years ago, that same president put pen to paper and advanced land grants for universities. Wouldn't be a UC Merced, wasn't for that moment in time in our history. The Transcontinental Railroad Act. If we couldn't connect north and south, well, we'll connect east to west. Homestead Act. There's a sense of optimism about our future. We were, as I said last night, in the future business, all bound together by this web of mutuality, as Dr. King said. We're all in this together. I love, and I'll close with this, this idea of the seed. It's been brought up over and over again. And of course, Dayton wrote that beautiful book, The Seed to the Future. It reminds me of another national park. I have a friend of mine, this guy Ken Robinson, told me this beautiful story. That other little national park down the road here called Death Valley. It was 10 years ago, 2004, something extraordinary. Some of you may remember this. Something extraordinary happened in Death Valley. 7 inches of rain fell almost overnight in the fall of 2004. Then in the spring of 2005, something no one had ever seen occurred. The entire valley floor was blanketed with wildflowers. Turned out, as Ken says, Death Valley wasn't dead. It was dormant. The seeds of possibility were planted years and years before, waiting for the right conditions to come along. And when the right conditions come along, success becomes irresistible. I love that. This notion of leadership demonstrated by your presence and efforts here today, of climate control. Not the old paradigm of command and control. Creating the right conditions where success becomes irresistible. We're celebrating our proud past, we're celebrating the present, but we're also celebrating a future. That doesn't just happen. You got to make it so. And so thank you for planting the seeds of our time in this restoration effort. Thank you for committing to that generation that's right there, crying with wonder at the beauty and majesty around it. Thank you as well for reminding us, with all the quarreling in Washington, D.C., where, with respect to those that are struggling within that system, where there seems to be more quarreling than leadership, not an indictment of individuals, the system. Thank you for reminding us, as I contextualize this moment, that our world is too small, our wisdom too limited, and our life is too short to win fleeting victories at other people's expenses. We must all triumph together. In the words that the Jesuits, in extension of Governor Brown's appreciation as well for your stewardship, it is important to remind us that on earth, God's work is truly our own. Thank you for your leadership, for your stewardship. Thank you for your constancy. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for the devotion to this extraordinary cause that brings you all together. And thank you for remembering the importance of sustainable values, moving away from the now and thinking long term. And I can say this, if we remind ourselves of that each and every day, the best will always be yet to come. Thank you all for being here.